and welcome back to Baking with Miss Avena. So today what we are going to be making are chocolate chip blondies. Now blondies are a little bit different than cookies because they have a little bit more sugar in them. They're a little bit more, have a chewy texture, and there's no leavening agent. So there's no baking soda, no baking powder in them. They're also in bar form as opposed to being in cookie form. So what I have first, and I have it prepped, first things first, always wash your hands, forgot to mention that. After that, I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I also have an 8x8 baking dish. Now what I had to do with this 8x8 baking dish is actually melt some butter, spread the butter around the baking dish, and then I have a piece of parchment, and that's gonna help us get it out at the end. But then I have the parchment also coated in butter as well, so that when we put it in there, nothing sticks to our container. So for this recipe, you need 1 stick of unsalted butter melted. I kind of already put that in the microwave, so we were all prepped and ready to go. You also need 1 cup of flour, and it's really hard to see with my lighting in here, but 1 cup of flour with 1 teaspoon of salt. I mix those together. For our sugars, we have a 1/3 cup of white sugar, and then a 2/3, half a cup of brown sugar, and you can use either the light brown or the dark brown sugar. It doesn't matter. It's the same either way for this recipe. We have 1 egg. I have my teaspoon, my vanilla. We're gonna do a teaspoon of vanilla, and that's ready to go. And then I also have a cup of chocolate chips. I have them separated into half a cup each right now because half a cup is gonna go in the recipe, and then half a cup will go on top of the recipe. Now, one option that you can do for this original recipe called for walnuts, but because I know some of you guys have nut allergies out there, we're not putting any nuts in them today. So you can always add walnuts or pecans or any kind, almonds, any kind of nut that you have in the house. So we're gonna get started, and the first thing that I'm gonna do is combine the sugars and the butter together. I'm gonna try my whisk and try to mix it together. Yesterday I made blondies too, and it was getting stuck inside my whisk, so it looks like this is going much better today. You're gonna give that a good mix. You want the sugars and the butter to kind of blend really together until they're combined. Now you can see, I'm gonna lift this up for you guys. It's kind of like a light golden color. Everything is mixed really well. From there, I'm gonna add my teaspoon of vanilla. I'm running low on my vanilla. And I'm also gonna add my egg. We are going to mix these two together until blended as well. So I'm actually gonna stop using my whisk at this point and switch to a spatula, because it's just a little bit easier to use a spatula when trying to mix in your flour mixture to your wet mixture. So now I'm gonna take my dry, which is the salt, and my flour, and I'm going to add that to our container. Now when you mix in your dry ingredients to your wet, you don't want to overmix. So as soon as this starts to come together and I don't see any like pockets of flour anymore, I will stop mixing. If you overmix, things can turn out dry, and then they won't retain the moisture that's meant. So right now I have a little bit of flour left in this. I'm going to mix it up a little bit more. Just about done. And it does resemble a cookie consistency. It is a little bit more wet, so it's not as easy to scoop, and it's a little bit more kind of thicker than a brownie. So as you can see, it does kind of slide off there pretty well. That's because of the melted butter. So I'm now just gonna dump my half a cup of chocolate chips right in. Fold those in, so that means kind of turn the dough in on itself just to make sure that we get our chocolate chips incorporated. And then that's pretty much it. This is a super simple recipe. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna start spreading this in our container. So let me just mix it one more time. I'm gonna move this over here. And then I'm gonna take this out. And I'm gonna move the camera down so you guys can see scraping out the bowl. You never wanna leave anything in the bowl. Put that in the sink. Move the camera down. And as you can see, I'll turn it this way. I'm gonna just spread this into the pan, making sure that everything is level, getting into the corners. And these will come out nice and gooey. There's a lot of chocolate chips in this. And that's what I think makes the Blondies really good, is all the goodness and chocolate chips inside of it. Not so great at spreading today, but that's okay. We'll get there. Right, got the corners done. Just want to make sure that everything's kind of even. A little bit more on that side than I'd like. All right, almost just about done. I'm just gonna scrape the excess off. Put that in the corner. And then we're kind of good to put the chocolate chips on top. So we're gonna put the chocolate chips on top. I'm gonna start sprinkling them on kind of evenly, but this has a lot of chocolate chips, so make sure you get kind of coat everywhere. You don't want a massive pile of chocolate chips in one area. And like I said, you can also put some walnuts or pecans, whatever floats your boat for this. And this is all gonna melt and be very good once this goes in the oven. A couple left. I may eat a chocolate chip. And we're just about done. So that's it. That's all of this prep is for this recipe. You can kind of see all the chocolate chips on top. So I'm gonna pop this in the oven, lift this up a little bit. And we're gonna cook this for about 45 minutes. It does need a longer bake time. I'm actually gonna only put it on for half an hour though, because I noticed that with this recipe, you don't want them overcooked. You kind of want them a little undercooked. So I'm gonna start with 30 minutes and go from there. And with the magic of Zoom recordings, it's magically gonna be done at the end. I'll come back and I'll show you kind of what it looks like when it's done and how we cut them. We are gonna let them cool completely, and I am going to let them cool completely this time, so that way I don't have so many issues cutting them. I will see you back in a little while. All right, everybody, welcome back. As you can see, I actually used the parchment to pull this out of the pan, and now I'm just gonna slice it. I am gonna turn the video down a little bit so you can see me slicing it. Just one thing to note, it might be a little bit crispy in the edges, so you might need to use a serrated knife. Please have your parents do that, and just cut the edges back a little bit so that way you can get it out of the pan. All right, I'm gonna show you how to cut. Lower that down here. Sorry, I'm doing some more baking later, so you guys have actually made them. I'm making some snickerdoodle cookies. So I'm just gonna use a serrated knife and just kind of cut these into even bits. I'm gonna do this side first, actually. You can see the chocolate is still kind of hot on top. And I'm just gonna make 16, so we're gonna make 3 slits across. And then turn them. Oop, a little crunchy on that side. 3 slits this way. And we're kind of good to go. As you can see the melted chocolate everywhere, and I'll pick up one of these. Oh, that one kind of fell apart. Give me a second. They're really tender inside. Let's stop, sorry. So they're really tender inside. You can kind of see all the melted goodness. They're a little crispy on the edges, but soft in the middle, and we're ready to go. And that's our Blondie recipe for today. I hope you guys have fun making everything, and I look forward to seeing the results. Have a great day, you guys.